Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am back with another true crime video, and today we are going to be doing the story of Nomfezeko, Tyali-Soboyisi, and Solomzi. Now, if you're new to this channel, I try and do these videos often, so please do check out the playlist. I've done a couple already, and I will be doing more in the near future. So before we dive into today's video, I do have a couple of disclaimers. First and foremost, for videos such as this one, I really do try and reach out to the victim's family to get some sort of a blessing or go ahead to do the video, especially when the case is quite new and there hasn't been a verdict in court. I go out of my way to try and reach out to the victim's family. Some of the times I'm unable to get them, but sometimes I'm able to reach the victim's family, and I normally am able to get some sort of a blessing to go ahead. So with this specific video, I did reach out to the family. I did get a go ahead and a blessing to do this video. But you know, the reason I wanted to touch on this is that most of the time I don't share my interactions with the family. I don't share that I do ask for permission, but I really wanted to touch on this one because I feel like from all angles affects the family, because both the victim and the perpetrator are from the family. Most of the time I think that maybe we forget that there are real people in the background, whether it's me when I'm creating these videos or you guys when you're listening to them, is that we forget that there are actual people in the background that are still grieving, especially when I do these new cases, which is sometimes why I try and shy away from them, is because it's still very raw. I really want to commend Osipu and thank her for allowing me to do the story as new as it is. And on that note, that takes us to the second disclaimer, being that this case is fairly new. It only happened on the 13th of June 2024, which makes it 5 months ago, and it is still going through court processes, and therefore I need to state that these are still allegations because they are yet to be tested in a court of law. With that said, and without wasting any more time, let's dive into today's video. Today's video takes us to the Eastern Cape, to Ilibode, just outside Umtata. Nomfezeko Tyali was born in the Eastern Cape on the 28th of June 1974. From a very young age, she has always been a hard worker and determined to make something of her life. When she completed her matric, she went on to further her studies. In 1990, although she was still very young, she welcomed her first child, Solomzi. This definitely did not hold her back. Instead, she continued working really hard, not just for herself now, but also to be able to provide for her child. She qualified and she became a nurse, and years later she welcomed her second child, Sipumonde Kyali. Nomfezeko loved her children dearly, and she did her best to provide for them. She managed to take them to the best schools that she could so that they too can grow up and be independent. You were able to see the love and dedication that she put into raising her children in her last born, Sipumonde. The two were extremely close, though Sipu had now moved out of the house and was living on her own and working and building her own life and future, but she would often make time for her mother as much as she could, and she made sure to take videos of them spending time together, giggling and joking about. And she also made sure to celebrate her mother as much as she could. On the other hand, as much as she loved her son Solomzi dearly, just a quick disclaimer, I am using an older picture of Solomzi as of 2024. He is currently 34 years old. Unfortunately, there are no pictures of him recently, so this is the picture that we have. On the other hand, as much as she loved her son Solomzi dearly, but over the years he had become quite troublesome. So different to his younger sister, he wasn't working and had used substances at some point. But I have to stress that at the time of the incident, he wasn't using any substances. The family is sure of this because they say, 1, he could not afford them because he wasn't working. 2, he had no friends that could be sponsors of the substance because he had alienated all his friends. He had isolated himself from everyone outside of his family, and even within the family he wasn't so pleasant to live with, but everyone already knew that Solomzi is just like that, and therefore they didn't really pay him any mind. This year Solomzi turned 34 years old. 14 years ago he impregnated his then girlfriend when he was 20 years old. So Solomzi is also a father. However, he had decided very quickly that he's not interested in that journey, and as a result of his decision he had last seen having the child when the child was less than a year old. So that was just one element of Nomfezeko's life. She was not only just a mother to her 2 children, but she was also a grandmother. Sipho had also given birth to a beautiful baby girl. On top of all of that, she was also married. She had gotten married to Mr. Soboyisi. So she was wearing a lot of hats in the house. Outside of the house, she was a nurse. She worked at the Mthatha Regional Hospital as an operational manager at the surgical unit. She loved her job very much. She always showed up energized and ready to work with a big smile on her face. And as a patient, you always left feeling like you were being cared for by your own loved one. She was also a community member and was always willing to give a helping hand. Whether you were a neighbor hosting an event and needed an extra hand, or a church, she was always ready to avail herself. So this year, June of 2024, Nomfezeko decides that actually she would love to spend the holidays with all of her grandchildren in the house, including Solomzi's child, who was now 14 years old, which he hadn't seen in like 13 years. So although Solomzi hadn't seen the child in so many years, the rest of the family had maintained relations with the mother of the child as well as the maternal grandparents and kept in touch over the years. But this year, Nomfezeko wanted the child to come to the house and get to know the father's side of the family a little bit more and also get a chance to bond with her cousins. So arrangements were made and she arrived on the 10th of June. When she arrived, everyone was happy to see her. They showed her love. The family was having a great time and continuously expressed how happy they were that she was visiting. Solomzi, on the other hand, was not aware that his child was there because he generally isolated himself, so he didn't see her for the first 3 days until the 13th of June on the Thursday. And when he saw her, he was not happy at all. Amongst the many questions he asked his child was, 1, what are you doing here? And also he went on to let her know that, listen, you don't have a place to sleep here, and proceeded to shout at her. After this interaction, the child was understandably so scared. 1, the grandmother, Nomfezeko, was at work. 2, Sipho, the aunt, was also at work because she was working out of town. So the only people who were at the house at the time were just the kids and Solomzi. She immediately called her aunt Sipho and told her what had just happened. And basically Sipho consoled her and reassured her, no, that everything is going to be fine. Don't worry. He's normally like this. He's generally like this with everyone else. Don't worry yourself about him. Just don't mind him. She also went on to call her own mother to let her know what was happening. And the mother then called the granny as well as Pooh to let them know that, listen, my child is scared there. But they also reassured her because for the most part, everyone thought Solomzi was just being Solomzi. In the late afternoon/evening, around 5 p.m. to 6, Nomfezeko comes back from work. She comes into the house, greets the kids, and goes to her bedroom to freshen up after a long day at the hospital. And then wears her pajamas, sits on her bed, and uses her phone for a little bit. Not too long after she had come back from work, Solomzi comes into the kitchen and asks the kids, where is Nomfezeko? They then answer that she's in her bedroom. He then asked, who is she with, sussing out if the husband was back from work as well or not. The kids then responded that no, she is alone. He then left and went to the shack that was behind the house where gardening tools normally stay, and then came back within a few minutes. He asked again if the kids were sure that she was alone in the bedroom, and the kids said yes. And then he proceeded to say, okay, fine, go call her. Nomfezeko, his mother, came. I'm going to play a video of Siphumonde, the sister, explaining what happens from this point. And although she will be speaking mostly in Xhosa, and I understand and respect that most people don't understand the language, I will be explaining it word for word after the clip.
Where's umama? Solomzi ba kutheni undinyanzela ngalo mntana, why undidlwengula ngalo mntana? Athi mama ishambizela loo nto kanti. She turns her back.
So basically, Nomfezeko comes out of her bedroom and comes to listen to what Solomzi has to say. Now, what he basically asks her is, why are you forcing the child on me? Why are you violating me with this child? And if I go on to use direct translation, he asks his mom, why are you raping me with this child? The mom then says, like, are you really calling me for that? And then proceeds to turn around with the intention to go back to her room.
Immediately xa ijika bhotha yam imxabele ngezembe, akhale ke imgqibezele on her hands on both sides, spinal cord. Yeah. That's what happened. Until she actually died.
Immediately after she turned around, he used the axe that he went to fetch and started launching it onto her. Now, obviously, she started crying and he started hitting her with the axe on her hands, on her spinal cord, a number of times. And then he went on to use a knife to finish her off. Now, while all of this is happening, keep in mind, small kids are in the room watching, including his very own child. By the time Nomfezeko's husband came back, Solomzi was already hiding at the back of the house in the shack where he had taken the weapons from. The police were immediately called, and when they arrived, some of them went to look for him, including some of the community members, and were eventually able to find him, and he was arrested. Solomzi is still in custody. He has had his first appearance already, and his trial is still at the very beginning stages. Spoo was able to go to one of these appearances, and she says that when she went, he did not seem like he was remorseful. He did not show any sort of regret. He did not apologize for what he had done to their mother. So honestly, she doesn't know why he truly did it or what really pushed him or possessed him to get to the point where the only plausible thing was to take his mother's life. So it's a very tragic story. It's a big loss for a family because they did not just lose one person on that day. They kind of lost two. So it is quite heartbreaking. So we definitely wish the family peace, comfort, and strength through this very difficult journey. And on that note, we have come to the end of the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Oh, one last thing. Thank you guys so much for 100,000 subscribers. I have a feeling by the time I post this video, we would have hit 100,000 subscribers, and it's all thanks to you guys. This channel is absolutely nothing without you guys. So thank you for 100,000 subscribers.